Hi crafters, Amy here, and today I have a book nerd birthday card to share with you. For the main focal points on the card, I used some stamps from Journals for Life. It's called Book Club Stamp Set, and this small business just has some of the cutest stamps, so if you aren't familiar with them, be sure to check them out. I will link all the products that I used for this card in the video details below, so you just expand that and scroll down to get that information. And I've also decided to use an awesome stencil from A Colorful Life Designs called Striped Spiral Stencil, and this is the little birthday notes from My Favorite Things. So I have some inks that I'm going to use and my action wobblers that I'm going to use behind the little pile of books. And I have my blending brushes from the Rabbit Hole Designs, and let's get started. So I did actually already stamp and color out the images that I wanted to use. I did this while I was watching the first episode of the new season of British Baking Show. It's a big hit in our family. My husband baked some blueberry scones to start off the new season, so that was fun. We sat around and ate some scones, and I colored these little images. But this card is actually for one of my daughter's good friends who is a voracious reader, so I figure she will appreciate this card. And I'm going to ink blend with some tumbled glass distress ink through this striped spiral stencil from A Colorful Life Designs. This is from the September release, and I love it. I love that it brings the eye into the center of the card. Anything where I have an action wobbler, I love having stencils like this that really just kind of frame the whole composition and create the eye path that you want with your design. So I just did some simple ink blending right on the card base. It's an A2 size 110-pound cardstock, and I'm just taking some of the little sentiment stamps from that book club stamp set and putting them on some acrylic blocks, knowing that I want to use that kind of a medium gray ink to just kind of stamp that around the design. So that's what you see I'm doing here. I'm just conditioning the stamps with my finger because they are new. That helps kind of get the manufacturer's seal off of it and helps it stamp better. So just test it out here on some scrap paper before I free range stamp, and I put those kind of all around the design. And then I'm gonna put the action wobbler behind the little stack of books that I already colored, but I know that I want to heat emboss a different sentiment on it first, so obviously I want to do that before I attach the little wobbler to it. So I'm just kind of stamping around the card base, figuring out, the placement where I want things to go. And I decide, I want one more sentiment here, so I grab that Go Places. So it says, Book Nerd, readers live 1,000 lives, just one more chapter, and this Go Places. So this particular little sweetheart that I'm making the card for, she loves my handmade cards, and I make her and her sister different kind of funny, quirky shirts as well. So I can't remember what I put on the shirt for her this year, but they always look forward to getting the shirts and the cards from me. So it's always nice when you're appreciated, right? Makes you want to create even more. So I'm figuring out which one of these little sentiments I want to use. There's so many good ones, and they just happen to be the perfect size to put on this little stack of books. I debated doing multiple sentiments, but because I kind of also had some words on the background with the stenciling, I didn't want to overdo it. So I just picked one that says, Hoorays Ahead, and it fits perfectly on that little blue book. So I'm gonna load that up in my MISTI and get my new static tool from the Rabbit Hole Designs. This is new to their shop, just to kind of keep the embossing powder where I want it. And then I'm going to stamp it down with some Versamark clear embossing ink and stamp it right on that little blue book. I did use some temporary adhesive on the back of that book just to kind of keep it in place since it wasn't anything that I could really nestle into the corner of the MISTI, and I didn't want it to shift in case I needed to stamp it again. So that was my solution there. And I'm going to use some alabaster white embossing powder from Brutus Monroe just to kind of coat that sticky clear ink and put the little sentiment on there. I'm not sure why I had so much excess. I don't think it's the fault of the tool. I think I needed to prime the tool and put more of the powder into it. It's been a while since I've done that. So it's probably my error because I have been using it a lot, and it usually works very well. So I'm just going to cook this with my heat tool and melt that embossing powder, and then I'll have a nice bright white sentiment on top of that little stack of books. So I melt that, and then I decide to put the action wobbler on the back of the little stack of books, but I'm not going to attach it to the card base yet because I do want to do some things on the inside of the card, and it'll just make it harder to stamp and work within the card if I've already got that little, you know, bulky component on the front of it. So just kind of getting that ready to go, and then I get out that little bookshelf of books that I had colored and figure out another one of the little sentiments on the inside. I just went with happy birthday, just figuring out where I want to put that on the inside of the card and stamp happy birthday on top of that little shelf of books. Messing around, getting my MISTI in the right direction. It's kind of hard to film the MISTI with you know, a limited space when you're filming, so sorry if it's a bit clunky trying to figure out how to do this on screen, but just placing that sentiment down where I want it, and then use the MISTI to pick that up in the door, and then stamp it with that same gray ink that I used on the front of the card, just so we have some continuity. And then I'll just use some adhesive to, you know, stick that bookshelf down on the inside of the card. It's nice to have, you know, things on the inside of the card as well. I don't always do it, but since I colored all these images and knew that I wanted to do a little action wobbler as the main focal point on the front, then I knew I'd have that extra bookshelf for the inside of the card. So that's always nice when you have a little bit planned in advance. I don't normally plan this much. I kind of just wing it. If you've watched any of my other videos, you've probably figured that out about me. But this one I did kind of have a relative idea of what I wanted to do. And I knew, actually I had her in mind when I bought the stamp set from Journals for Life quite a while ago, just because I knew it would be perfect. And, you know, my daughter's a big reader too. Maybe not as much as this particular friend of hers, but it's just such a cute stamp set, so I had to have it. But just remove that backer from the clear side. I do have the harder plastic piece attached to the back of the fussy cutout books, and then I have the clear, more lightweight sticker piece is what's attaching directly to the card base. And then you just play with that all day, right? I mean, these things are so fun. I love them. But I have these little gems, I think that came in my last order from the Rabbit Hole Designs, and they're really cool and kind of fit the design really well. So I just kind of smatter an odd number of those around the front of the card, and then liquid glue those down, and that's pretty much it. So I really think she's gonna like this card. I'm excited with how it turned out. It's pretty close to how I envisioned it, with the idea, which is always nice. I hope you guys enjoyed my card today. If you did, I would love if you hit the thumbs up and considered subscribing to my channel. If you hit the bell, then you'll be notified anytime I post a new video. All the products that I use will be listed in the video description box below. If you expand that and scroll down, you'll find all the information there. So thanks again so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I'll check you next time. Bye!